Software testing is such a activity in which a system or a component is executed under specified condition and the results are observed and recorded. An evaluation is also made on the basis of the some aspect of the system, right? So whatever it has been, expected at the part of customer, or sometime, we do lots of testing to improvise the software. So there is different definition which is, which relates with the testing, is that what is testing? So the testing is what basically it is a process of executing a program with the intent of finding an error. Means whatever, whenever I will start my testing process, I will keep this idea into my mind that there is some mistake. It may be possible that I won't be able to find it now, but yes, there is some mistake. So if I will keep such a kind of mindset, then definitely I will be able to find some sort of error out of it. Even if this software is being prepared by so many group of expert people also, right? Just a minute, someone is trying to enter, I think. Yeah. So yes, a successful test is one that uncovers as yet undiscovered error. During testing, if I am performing the role of a, let's say, what we call it as a, yeah, testing. So if I have, discovered such a kind of error which was not yet pinpointed by anybody till now, so that is said to be a successful testing. There are lots of testing test case principle which are involved, and that we must kept in our mind while applying the testing. So the first test case principle is that whatever test case we have prepared, that test should be traceable to the customer requirement, because our entire software, it revolves around meeting the requirement of the customer. So the first case principle is this, that our tests should be revolve around the customer requirements. Next one is that the test should be planned in advance. Is that before the testing begin? And again, testing is not an accidental scenario. Okay, we don't have so much, we don't have other tasks to do, so let's do testing today. No, testing is, it is a planned activity. It is already done in a planned way. So for that purpose, we need to maintain a make a plan also for this thing. And tests should follow the Pareto principle. I told you earlier also that Pareto is the name of a scientist who has derived this formula, that is 80-20%. Means it is there, if there are, let's say, 10,000 lines of code, so it is not possible to check each and every line. So what the Pareto principle suggests us, that you just take out the 20% of the code that you want to test, so that whatever will be the outcome of the 20%, the same outcome will reflect for the rest of the 80% also. So it happens into the testing industry also. So the test should begin from individual components and then progress towards the testing the entire system. So it happens. So because entirely you can't test the entire software in a single go. If you imagine the scenario, if you have to test the software or web application like that of the Amazon, so there are lakhs of pages into that e-commerce application. So it is not possible for anybody, even if you are going to use some sort of automatic tools also, for the testing, still it won't be possible to consider everything and every aspect of the testing in a single go. So yes, testing should begin from an individual component and should reach to the entire system. Someone is trying to enter. Yeah. So another, test case principle is that test should be conducted by an independent third party to result in an effective testing. If I am the developer, I'm leading the team of 7 people, and I am, obviously it is very much true that first level of testing is being done by the development team itself. But here the test case principle, they are recommending us that every time whenever you are going to test the software, the test should be done by means of third party. Just a minute, I think now the network is up. So let me reconnect again so that you all can see what I'm going to cover now. Just a minute. Just 2 minutes. Now everything is going to be connected. Hopefully. Now you all want to listen? Yes, I think. Still facing network issue, but let me share window. Now you all
Now
can
you
see
all
the
can see.
yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
So yes, I was
So
about
yes,
to
I was
cover
about to
this
cover
unit
this
7.
unit 7.
Let me take to
Let me
your
take
that place only.
that place only.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have covered till
So I have
these
covered till
two
these
slide first.
two slide
So
first.
yes, I was
So yes, I
talking
was talking
about.
about.
I
Your
think
voice is echoing,
voice
ma'am.
echoing. Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Actually,
Actually,
it's
it's
still
still facing
network
network
issue.
issue.
नो मैम आप एक माइक ऑफ कर दें.
हाँ ये
हाँ
भी
ये भी
सही
सही
रहता है.
रहता है. Now अब ठीक है ना?
यस
Yes.
मैम.
चलो मैं यहाँ से ऑन करती हूँ. इसको खोलते हैं. ठीक है. अभी भी दो डिवाइस से है. Anyway. So yes, we were talking about the test case principle. Yes, tests should always be conducted by an independent third party. Just to idea is what to have a effective testing, results and all. So first one kind of testing that we are going to cover is black box testing. But before going, into the what we call it as a your course curriculum kind of thing, there is some different aspect of testing that you must be aware of. That testing must be of two type. They are of two type. They not must be, rather they are of two type: manual testing and automatic testing. In manual testing, whatever was the expectation at the part of customer, that is being tested manually, just to not only ensure that whatever the customer has asked for, either my proposed software is fulfilling that parameters or not, or rather the idea is always to optimize the software, right? So that it will give less maintenance effort at the part of end user and all. So black box testing is a kind of manual testing in which the requirements of the client is evaluated by means of different events, by firing different events and all. So we can say that black box kind of testing, it checks the accuracy of the software in terms of interfaces and the kind of layout that is being prepared, right? So it takes B for black and B for behavior also. So we check the entire functionality of the software by applying the black box testing. So by looking at how the things interact with one another, actual. in the event of in the triggering of an event basically. So yes, black box testing is another software testing method that deals with the functional requirement of the software. And black box testing is also known as a behavioral testing, right? And is complete complementary approach that is likely to uncover a different class of error than white box method. Another important aspect of testing is black box testing. In this, the test cases are derived from the common specification of the system, and test case selection can be done without any reference to the program design or code. Means I don't have to focus on to the designing parameter while applying the black box testing. Again, here is a parameter that we have to understand that as black box testing focus onto the behavioral aspect of the software, so it is again it must be mapped with that of the what is the actual requirement of the end user, right? So only test the functionality and the feature of the program, not the internal operation. So this is the main important point. Black box testing, another way of applying the black box testing is by using graph based testing method. So under this, the software testing begins by creating a graph of the object who all need to be tested, and then a kind of relationship is set between these objects so that the things can be understand in this way that how the two things are related with one another and how the things how two or more components are independent of one another. So this graph will give you a kind of relationship in this way so that the each and every node can be processed, and we can say the entire software can be tested at the part of 360-degree, right? Each object and its relationship is exercised, then a series of tests is to be devised just to uncover the error. Another type of manual testing or black box testing is equivalence partitioning. In this method, we divide the input domain of a program into different sort of classes, or we can say sometimes categories of the data from which the test cases can be derived. So it is sometimes become hard to define the test cases which can uncover the classes of error, thus reducing the number of test cases needed. Right. So black box testing is having another way of applying the testing by means of boundary value analysis. It is also called as in short BVA. Write brief note on BVA. This type of question can also be, asked in the examination also. So boundary value analysis is what basically it is a test case design method that complements equivalence partitioning. So instead of selecting any element of an equivalence class, it is always suggested to select the test case which reflect the edges of the class basically. Sometimes, let's say I'm saying I'm making a software onto the, let's say, payroll kind of application. So if I have set such a criteria in which the salary of the person is not less than 10,000 and not even more than 1.5 lakh, right? So this kind of boundary is a kind of edges that we will check under the BBA. Or let's say if I have set some value at some other aspect also. So BBA basically it drives the test casing from the output domain instead of the input domain. So BVA leads to a selection of test cases that exercise bounding values. So minimum and maximum values are being evaluated, right? As most of the errors occur at the boundaries of the input domain, and by knowing the boundary, we can also find out that at which maximum boundary the our software will get cracked, or it will support to up to which value it will support. So following are the guidelines for the BBA method, which is similar to that of the equivalence partitioning also, in which let me show you a diagram. Okay, no, there is no diagram. Anyway, so if input condition is bounded by some parameter in terms of A and B, then that test cases should be designed that will check both the minimum as well as maximum value. So depending upon that value, the of the minimum and maximum value, the things are evaluated further, right? So now you look at this here. He's Mr. Johnny. He's checking each and every line of code, and you can imagine the scenario that how Mr. John is evaluating, each and every construct. Either we are applying multiple if or nested else, all the things are being evaluated. So under this method, yes, it is a very time consuming method as well. And sometimes, your software which is in hand, whose for which we are going to apply the testing, they don't demand such an extensive type of testing also. So in that situation, software engineering practices suggest us that don't go deep dive into white box testing. It depends project to project requirement. Again, it depends how much accuracy you are looking for, and again everything revolves around cost part also, right? If you are looking for the accuracy but you are not paying for that thing, so obviously the thing how the things will go at, right? So you should understand the amount of effort, the amount of cost, the amount of your time will be spent in applying the white box testing. So everything, again everything, you should communicate to your client also, so that they should understand the matter of sensitivity, and if they approved that thing, then only we should go ahead on that part. White box testing is one of the software testing method that checks the internal working of an application. It uses control structure of the procedural design to drive the test cases. And control structure means it will cover all the aspect of decision construct, either it is if else or nested if, or switch construct, or looping construct, while, do while, and what we call it as a for loop and all. So your test case must consider all these control structure. So while designing the test case structure, we should consider all it. White box testing is also known as a glass box testing. Even in some of the book, you will be able to find a new word also, that is transparent testing. So if I'm asking about the white box testing or glass box testing or transparent testing, three are interchangeable terms. White box testing, in this the programmer has an access to the program code, because actually we look into the source code and then apply the relevant changes which is actually expected at the part of client or our customer basically. Or sometimes even it is required the part of business aspect also to apply some sort of changes, because whatever we are doing, every anyhow the last or end product that we are looking for is that our software must be a marketable software. So at times we have to apply that sort of changes also. So yes, white box tester, he can analyze the code and then proceed with the testing process based on to the information that he obtained, right? There are other methods for white box testing. So these are, in this the complete knowledge of the source code or internal structure of the source code is required. So whosoever is going to apply the white box testing, he must be well versed on that particular language in which that software is developed, right? So first aspect of white box testing is coverage based testing. Again, coverage based testing is a specific kind of testing which works by choosing the test cases according to the well defined coverage criteria. And the moment the main parameter of the coverage based testing is, first one is statement coverage, or it is also called as a node coverage. So every statement of the program should be exercised at least once, then only the things can be checked out. Branch coverage or decision coverage means, if I have used a nested if, right, so it means my coverage based test case will cover not only the if, checking of the if parameter, rather each and every else part will be also will undergo the processing or will undergo the testing part. And even if we have applied some sort of switching and all, again every alternative, if I make a software in which 11 cases are there, so every case must be evaluated by with respect to different. एक second. चलो बाद में Yes. So coverage-based testing also cover decision construct in which each condition in a branch is made to value to both the true and false and all. And multiple condition, I already spoke about this thing, that if it is a case of multiple if scenario, Then each and every branch is to be exercised at least one. And path coverage means every condition or the path of the program should be exercised in terms of data process and all. Cyclometric complexity, in which a control graph, let me show you the graph plus. Now look at this. There are certain things which work in sequence. At times we have to use some switching, that loop in this decision construct and looping and all. So this kind of flow graph is created, and in this, what we have to do, each and every node to be exercised for. So it also describes how the flow control passes through the program. In order to draw the flow control flow graph of a program, we need to first have the number of all the statements in the program. Then only the things can be numbered and can be connected by means of these edges and all. So this is how, by understanding the entire scenario, CFG or control flow graph is created first, and then that graph is processed. Another important way of applying the white box testing is cyclometric complexity. You just look at this this formula, in which, now let me show you this diagram first, or this graph first. Now look at this. I have to reach from node number 1 to node number 5. So there are many ways of doing this thing. 1, 2, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 5, and I can reach 1 to 5. So there are three ways to reach from source to destination. So this is how the cyclometric complexity is being calculated. So this technique is used to find the number of independent paths. So in the given example, how many paths were there? 3. So the way I have just shown you. So we will just put up the value of the number of vertices or nodes over here and the number of edges, and then we will able to have a value of the cyclometric complexity. And by putting this value under this formula, we will get to know about the cyclometric complexity. So higher the value of cyclometric complexity, which higher, or we can say we have to put more emphasis onto this testing basically. Or again, because complexity is there, it means time will be there. I mean, more time, more cost will be involved into it, right? So every time we have to focus on to the project management aspect also. So yes, the VG, that is the vertices of the graph, is the number of independent path in the graph. So in this way we can resolve, or we can plan for the cyclometric or white box kind of testing. Mutation testing, it is a powerful method, or sometimes keeping in view of the what we call it as a business world requirement, client requirement, updation at the part of technology, and sometimes it is required to be competitive, that my software must be competitive. So we apply some sort of sudden changes into the software just to cope up the scenario, or to have a better outcome of the software basically. So here comes the role of mutation testing. It is a very powerful method for finding the error into the software program. So in this technique, multiple copies of the programs are made and each copy is altered. So this altered copy is called as a mutant. So you can jot down into your notebook also that mutation is equal to sudden change. Again, as we all know very well, that software development is a teamwork. In this lots of people, they work together to achieve a same goal. So here it is the requirement sometime to have a better version of the software. We distribute the copy of the same software to different participants, so that everyone will apply their brainstorming ideas into this copy, and whosoever will give a better idea in terms of new feature, in terms of new innovation or creativity and all, that will be incorporated into the final software. So it happens sometime also. So yes, mutants are executed with the test data to determine whether the test data are capable of detecting the change between the original program and the mutated program. So the changed copy of the that on which I have applied that customized changes is called as a mutated program, and the entire process is called as a mutation. Mutation testing, if we run a mutative program, there are two possibilities. What will happen with the change part? So the result of the program were affected by the code change and the test suite detected. Yes, there are some sort of changes. You can. I am just taking, although it is not a relevant example, but still you can, take it for your understanding. The way, by applying some sort of uh, environmental changes, or sometimes even by means of some chemical impact, entire genomic structure of a human being can be altered to a level. Similarly, taking care of all the aspect of the business world, and for the betterment of the software, we need to apply some sort of changes. So if some sort of changes has been observed or realized to be important for the software, then that must be included into the test suite also, which means that it must detect the change. If this happens, then the mutant is called as a killed mutant. So the result of the program are not changed, and the test suite does not detect the mutation. Yani ki, I mean, if the changes are favorable to the software, it will be incorporated into the software. And if it is not matching with any way with the client requirement, or for the betterment of the software, so then it will fall under the category of the killed mutant. So the mutant is also called as a equivalent mutant also. So there are lots of testing activities that sorry, that we have to understand under the testing phases. Although we initially talked about the development phases, now we are entering into the testing activities. What all sort of testing activities we have to apply, because we are testing the software. So primary level of testing will be done by the development team itself. So the testing should begin in the requirement phase of the software development life cycle, right? So because everything is being derived from the SDLC, right? So keeping in view of the requirement phase, so the first point is to analyze the requirement of the client in the very beginning of the requirement analysis phase. Then during the design phase, tester work with the development team in determining what aspect of the designs are actually testable and under what parameters should the tester work. So you will be getting this idea the way we have developed the software. Similarly, we are applying the entire SDLC under the testing phase also. Now you look at this. Requirement documentation is being analyzed, designing parameters are being analyzed. Now we are again giving a complete thought to this process, that entire testing should be done in a very planned and systematic way. So again, we must have a testing strategy also in our hand, and along with the test plan also. You just take it test plan as a plan of test. It is an entire plan of action which will reflect how the testing should be done, and at which aspect of the software extensive testing is required, and on which part testing is not required at all, right? So test plan have, by looking at the test documentation or test plan in your hand, you will be able to get an idea, or we can say the blueprint how the testing will work or how the testing will go on, right? Test development. So in this regard, you need to develop the test procedure, test scenario, different test cases, even test script should also be ready with us, because testing is being done at two levels, by means of manual testing, and by use of automatic test script also, or testing tool also. So every decision, it is based on to the requirement of the project, and how much things are interconnected with one another. Or we can say it's sometimes it become very what we call it as a sensitive matter to decide what to do. So keeping in view of that aspect, next comes test execution. So tester execute the software based on to the plans and tests, and report any errors found to the development team, right? So keeping in view of this parameter, test reporting. Now assume whatever testing the outcome is there that was observed during the test execution, there must be a kind of summarized or reporting kind of thing which gives the entire
outcome of the testing work. So if I'm the leading your team and you all are my members of the testing team, so I will be very much interested to know that how many effort you have applied, what bugs or what kind of how many errors, what kind of deviation you have find out during the testing. So your test report will give me an idea in terms of the metric that you have generated out of the testing and all. So once the testing is completed, testers generate the metric and make the final report on their test effort. Who has done it, when it was done, how much test effort was applied, on which area we have applied this testing and all. So that entire matrix will give the entire idea what the amount of effort was involved during the testing activity. Retesting the defect. Again, testing not only it will all the time will not cover all the defect in a single go. So it happens that a certain parameter has been fixed and certain are still in a pending state. So retesting the defect means the defects are once again tested to find whether they got eliminated or not, just to ensure that if 81 kind of or let's say 32 type of defects were observed, so how many are fixed and how much are left behind, right? So there are different levels of testing which are in front of you. That is unit testing, integration testing, and systems testing. Again, testing, matters give us some ideas also in this regard that sometimes even unit testing is okay. It means all the modules they are working well individually. But when it comes to integration, when they interact with one another, so then there is some sort of gap has been observed, right? So it means ensuring unit testing will not ensure the integration testing, and even vice versa also happens. Sometimes integration testing is okay, but unit testing is not okay. So we can't make it as a thumb rule that okay, there's no need to go for the integration testing because unit testing is already okay. No, when the things or the interfaces will interact with one another, then another kind of new kind of issues will arise or challenges will arise. So we have to ensure it also, because integration testing will cover the compliance part of the organization also. It means we have to take care of the standard of the organization also in terms of their policies and other parameters. And systems testing is a specific kind of testing which look at the business aspect of the software also. So all the levels of testing, they have their own way of judging the software, or not judging rather, I must say correcting the software rather. So what all is there? Yes, in unit testing there is a procedure which is used to verify that a particular segment of source code is working properly. So the idea about the unit test is to write the test cases for all the functions for which we have to provide the functionality in the software, and ideally each test is separate from the others. That because that is why the separate unit is prepared for the same. So this type of testing is mostly done by the developer and not by the end user, because still the things are under the unit testing phase. So the goal of unit testing is to isolate each part of the program and show that the individual parts are correct, right? So unit testing provides a strict written contract that the piece of code must satisfy, keeping in view of the what was written into the SRS also, right? So unit testing will not catch every error in the program, and it only tests the functionality of the individual units only, right? Integration testing. It is sometimes called as a INT also. Write brief note on INT. It is abbreviated like this. So it is the phase in the software testing in which individual software modules are combined and tested as a group. Means how the different interfaces, when they collaborate or they interact with one another, then how they give the experience. Either they give a good user experience, and even sometimes when we are navigation from one page to another page in a web application, then sometimes things are not correct. So integration testing will ensure all these things. So it occurs after the unit testing and before the validation of the testing, because validation part will ensure the SRS parameters basically. So integration testing takes its input modules that have been unit tested, group them in the larger aggregate, applies test which is refined into to the to integration test plan to those aggregates, and then delivers its output to the integrated system for the entire system testing. System testing in this, the professional testing agent are involved. All the business players are involved. They will cover or they will look for those aspects to make the software business oriented or business friendly rather, and the software become a sellable kind of product also. So that the idea is we can introduce this software to the market because this is not prepared for the sake of charity. It is prepared so that we can make a marketable product. So system testing falls within the scope of the black box testing, and as such should require no knowledge of the inner design of the code. So if I don't know the any ABCD of the Java language, still I can apply the system testing. Yes, if I have some knowledge, so it will really help me to give a more mature, or what we call it as a better ideas in this context. So as a rule, system testing takes its input all of the integrated software components that have passed the integration testing criteria, and also the software system itself integrated with any applicable hardware system also, right? So in system testing, the entire system can be tested as a whole, so that the against the SRS. So these are the rules that describe the functionality that the vendor or developer and a customer have agreed upon. So system testing should cover that aspect also. Now it happens so that at a part of system testing, some changes I have applied, although it is not it was not in the SRS part, but still because it was required to make my software to be a more marketable software, so I have applied some changes. Even if it will cover that aspect also, in which that relate to SRS also. So the idea is what even after testing, I have find out some points or parameters in which again the team is working. They have fixed the errors and all. So debugging is that kind of activity which is done or which initiated from the identification of the bugs, measurement of the bugs, or we can say that we will analyze how much big is the problem, and then fixing of the bugs also. So all these three aspects of the bugs or error or fault is being done under the debugging process. So yes, debugging occurs as a consequence of the successful testing. Once the testing is finished, then the debugging will start. So it is the process of identifying the cause for the defective behavior of the system. Sometimes client is looking for something else. He is asking for ABC, and my software is actually giving the output as ABX. So X, why this is X? This is a kind of defect. Right? So to address all that issues and challenges, debugging is coming into the picture. So in less complex terms, fixing a bug is equal to debugging. So when a test case uncovers an error, so debugging is that process that results in the removal of that error or bug. So debugging process begins with the execution of the test cases. So whatever I'm going to fix or I'm going to identify, that will be the part of test case also. So the debugging process attempt to match symptoms with the cause also. Again, there is a cause and effect theory also, that if my software is reflecting this kind of error now, so that it means definitely there must be a reason behind it, because defect is there. So obviously some of the some part was missed or some kind of lackings were there. That is why the software is showing such a kind of behavior or incorrect behavior or defective behavior. So the debugging process attempt to match symptoms with the causes, thereby leading to the error correction and all. So two alternative outcomes of the debugging are that the cause will be found and necessary action will be taken up, so that the things can be fixed, and the cause will not be found. Either we will find the error, or we will we will not be able to find the source of the error. So this is how we have to sometimes apply the root cause analysis also. sometimes if we find it, then we find it, okay, there could be three possibilities of the same thing. Then what is the exact in this case or in this scenario? So now you all can see that there is a life, sorry, life cycle of a debugging task also, that begin with the identification of the system and defect report which is created. Defect is assigned to the software engineer. Here comes again the, credibility also. Here comes the role of credibility also, because more or less entire software engineering revolves around the how we manage the human effort and all. So yes, once you have all the defect list in your hand, so you must appoint a person from your team with respect to the defect, so that the defect can be fixed. So only identification of the or having a big list of defects will not serve the purpose. We have to assign dedicatedly a person for that thing, so that the things can be fixed. So that engineer that you have appointed for the removal or for the fixing of that bug will analyze the defect, prepare a report, and take the following action. What was actually expected and what exactly is going on, right? Is this really a defect in the system? Can the defect be reproduced? All these aspects will be, taken care by this software engineer that we have appointed for the fixing of the risk, right? Because most of the time work don't go ahead at the next level because no one was assigned, no one was told to do that thing. So being a project manager of your team, we have to take on this responsibility, assign the name of the person against each person. If there's a big list, then you can include more than 2 or 3 people. If there is a small list, then again a single person must be appointed. Because adding more people for a small task will again create a chaos, or we can say communication gap also. So here comes your leadership style also. Next comes under the debugging task is defect analysis. In the first phase, what we did, in the first part we identify the defect. In the second part, because now we have already entered into the life cycle of a debugging process, so the second phase it revolves around now analyze the defect, that how much it can hamper the entire performance of the software. So assuming that the software engineer conclude that the defect is genuine, yes, we need to work on it. So the focus shift to understanding the root cause of the problem that I have already communicated. So there could be many reasons of a same problem. So now we have to identify which exact is the reason behind this problem or for this defective behavior. So this is often the most challenging step in any debugging task also, particularly when the software engineer is debugging a complex software, any e-commerce kind of application or any business application like that of LinkedIn and all, right? So it requires lots of expertise and to manage that kind of scenario in such a complex application is not so easy, right? Next one is, and the last one is defect resolution. Okay, now we are assuming that we have not only identified the problem, we have rather identified the root cause of the problem also. Now here comes the term, and now it is the time to resolve that particular defect also, right? So once the root cause of the problem is identified, so that the defect can be resolved by making an appropriate change to the system which will actually fix the root cause. Testing tools. Although there are lots of automatic tools, and as you know it very well that what we call it as IT is an ever evolving industry. So every time, even when you will Google search, there are lot many tools that will arise that you will be able to find, because testing is done manually as well as automatic also. So it is the era of changes basically. So there are different categories of the tools that can be used for the testing. Certain tools are used to capture or to acquire the data for the testing. So these tools, they acquire the data to be used during the testing. There are certain tools that will allow you to analyze the source code, so without executing the test tool. So that requires the static measurement tools also. Dynamic measurement, under this you will analyze the source code during the execution. as the name suggests, dynamic means during runtime. There is other set of testing tool also that will play an important role in applying the testing or automatic testing rather. So tools that simulate the function of the hardware or other externals also. Test management tools. I will share a list of tools also that you can get to know. Although that you have to check it at your part also because certain tools may be obsolete now or not obsolete rather I must say the people are not using it or liberally or they are using some other tool also. But there should be a list that you can use for that thing. Cross-functional tools, that is kind of tools that help you to check the bounds of the each and every aspect that we have applied in terms of array bound checking and sometime database boundaries and all. So with this, your unit number, uh, what we call it, 7 is finished. Now we are moving ahead at the part of uh, change management. But before going on that part, let me show you a video first that will really help you to get a complete idea. Just a minute. Just a minute.
This small video has actually covered each and every aspect what we are going to cover now. So what is change management? Again, you should prepare your notes in this way because this question is normally asked of 10 marks basically. So SCM or change management, it is also called as a configuration management also. So these are the two, interchangeable term that we popularly, asked into the examination also. Write brief note on SCM or what do you understand by configuration management. So yes, it is an umbrella activity that is applied throughout the software process. Its goal is to maximize the productivity by minimizing the mistake which is being caused by the confusion when coordinating for the software development. So change management, it basically involves different activities in which the SCM manager not only identifies, rather organizes and controls the modification of the software being built by a software development team. So SCM activities are formulated to identify the changes and control the changes and report the changes to the right channel also or to the others who may have interest to it. So all the even by knowing the entire change process, even the stakeholder at different level they can communicate. So SCM is initiated when the project begins and terminate when the software is taken out of the operation. The moment we start working on the development of the software and the moment it get released to the market or launched to the market. So till then the journey of changes it keep on going on. But we as a part of change management team we have to have a record of each and every change that why this change has been occurred, who has approved it, and what was the exactly requirement for these changes to be applied. So yes, change management is the view of SCM, that is software configuration management, from various roles. The first one is project manager. Project manager is what basically its role is to act as an auditor, and an auditing mechanism is being set by the project manager, and the SCM manager it controls and tracks things with respect to the planning which was done earlier, and then making the policy if it is required so that the things go within the control or within the control of the project manager. Software engineer, in this case the role of project management is that it will access the control mechanism which was set by the software engineer. So another important aspect in the change management is the customer, because quality assurance product identification is, this method will always be set by the customer. So what the customer is looking for, if it is so again it can raise to the future challenges also. So again change management will evaluate the quality parameter what the customer has asked for it. Software configuration, in this the output from the software process make up the software configuration. In this computer program both the source code and the executable files, all these will be evaluated. Work product that we can explain in terms of the functionality which is being offered, that describes the computer program which is documented earlier, and the data also. So these are the different sites on which the software configuration is applied, at the part of work product or the software in hand, at the part of data, or at the part of computer program also. So software configuration management or SCM, the major danger to a software configuration is change, because these changes are not the control of a single person. Because we in the first video we have very clearly it was mentioned that it was due to the technical changes, competitive scenario, business need, disruptive technologies are hitting the wall. So there were lot many reasons to bring about these kind of changes. And sometimes, as I earlier told you, that yes, it is the demand of the this competitive scenario to bring some sort of unique feature to our software. So again, that will give rise to the change into the software. So the first law of the system engineering says, or it guides us rather, that no matter where you are into the system life cycle, the system will change, and the desire to change it will persist throughout the life cycle. In the very beginning of the software engineering session, I have used a word that being a software engineer, we have to have a specific capability. That is, we have to be we must have a patience also, because changes are bound to come. They all are the integral component or the part of the software life cycle. So if I will get panic each and every time whenever the client asks for some sort of changes into the software, I get panic. So it will not serve the purpose. We can't serve the client in this way. So if we follow this principle of law of system engineering, that systems will definitely go on under the change. So we have to cope up with that thing and that scenario also. Rather, I must say that thanks to all these changes, because they are they are always keeping the software developers in demand basically. So what all could be the possible reason for the software change? In the video, we have also seen that there were some points there that was mentioned there. Yes, error detected in the software need to be corrected. So changes could be from any part. So if I have diagnosed some sort of errors into it, or some sort of deviation is there, so definitely change must be applied. New business or market condition dictate the changes in the product requirement or business rules. Sometimes business rules also get changed. New customer needs, demand, or modification of the data produced by the information system, or the functionality which is delivered by the product or services. They demand some sort of changes at the part of computer-based system also. So again, there is a source of changes also. And sometimes because of disruptive technologies affecting each and every kind of organization, either they are the startup or small scale, or high large scale enterprises. Every organization, they are you know looking at the software and their organization with different aspects. So that requires a complete reorganization of the business growth, for the sake of business growth. Basically, all these things are going on. So that again can bring a changes into the project or into the software in hand. So again, the software engineering team has to apply that changes into required changes into the software also. And sometimes at the part of budgetary or cost or scheduling parameter, they also encourage us to redefine the entire system, so that the things can be completed within the stipulated time period. Elements of configuration management system are, there are certain items, the areas on which the changes is to be applied, that is called as a configuration elements or items sometime also. So a set of tools which are coupled with the file management or database system that enable the access to and management of each and every configuration items will be called as a configuration elements. So the process element, a collection of procedure and the task that defines an effective approach to change or apply the changes into the different parameter of the software. Another important aspect of the configuration management is construction element. So a set of tools that automate the construction of the software by ensuring that the proper set of valid component, that is the corrected version, is to be assembled. So that again is an element of configuration. And of course, human being, we can't forget this key person or key component of the entire configuration management process, because he is the driver of this boat basically. So a set of tools and process features which is being used by the software. So this human element must be compatible, must feel user friendly with that tool basically. So baseline, as in the second video, we have seen in a very short and crispy way that how the baseline plays an important role. How what was the exact role of Mr. Harry that was shown that in that video. So an SCM concept that helps the practitioner to control the change without seriously impeding the justifiable change. So as per IEEE definition, a specification or a product that has been formally reviewed and agreed upon, and that thereafter as the basis for further development, and can be changed only through the formal changes. Means once the baseline is ready, then the software is obviously it has developed. And if after during development phase again some sort of changes has been observed, so again to incorporate that changes into the baseline, a formal procedure has to be followed. It is a milestone in the development of the software, and it is marked by the delivery of one or more computer software configuration item. In short, it is called as a CSTI, is also that have been approved by the consequence of formal technical review. Means whatever changes, once the baseline has been set, whatever changes is being expected,
they have to follow the formal technical process, and again the formal technical review also. So, in this baselining process, what we are supposed to do, we have to prepare a series of the software engineering tasks, which produces a list of configuration item, and this configuration item list is being reviewed, and possibly it will be reviewed by the CCB board, that is the change control board, and then these approved configuration item will be given a new version, a new number in the project database, and that will be again kept into the repository also. Whatever things were there and what has been changed, every data will be the part of this repository. A copy of configuration item is taken from the project database and examined and modified by the software engineer. So once the baselining process has been applied, it means we have applied some changes into the existing baseline, right? Because the changes was supposed to be the important one. We need to customize the existing software. So it means the first task is to be customize the baselining first, or customize the baseline first. Yeah. So the baselining of the modified configuration item goes back to the step number 2. It means again it will be the part of the database repository now. Now you need to again now look at this process. There's a question in the examination, in the past examination, that was asked, that define the baselining process, how the journey of baselining process goes on. So yes, we need to review the design specification document. After reviewing that document, we need to apply the certain correction if it is required. Then whatever is the requirement, or whatever is the new parameter which is to be incorporated into the baseline, that needs to be specified, and again approval must be taken up, and then this new changes is to be incorporated into the final baseline. So this is how the things are being done. SCM repository. It means what is the role of SCM repository? It has entirely automized the entire software engineering processes in this way, because everything previously it was done on a paper based approach. That traditional paper based approach is not going to be automated now. So we are moving from the paper based approach to the paperless approach, right? So here again we are dismantling the basically the entire file cabinet and all. No need to have such a the documentation of or the hard copy of each and every paper in the with respect to the repository and all. So finding a configuration item when it was needed was often difficult. So determining which items were changed when and by whom was often a challenging task. So to overcome all these challenges, this automated repository was playing an important role in this part. And error prone, because every time we have to look for those where the things can be corrected and then the final changes can be applied. So describing detailed or complex relationship between configuration item was virtually impossible, right? So here comes the role of automated SCM repository. It has set of mechanism and data structure that allow a software team to manage the change in an effective manner. So we will have a single point of contact here. There will be only one person. Yes, that one person can take a backup of another person also, so that in the absence of one person, another person can take the job and all. So yes, but there should not be more than two people in this regard. So it acts as a center for both the accumulation and the storage of the software engineering information also. So in the given shared video with you, that Mr. Harry was the only single point of contact for all the kind of changes. So whatever was going into the repository and whatever was taking out of that repository, that was under the control of a single person, right? Software engineer use tools integrated with the repository to interact with it. There are different access mechanism also. So now you can have a look of these. This why I have kept this, although this again diagram has been captured from your igno blocks only. I told you earlier so many times that igno blocks are too good. They are, everyone is supposed to read it at least 2 or 3 times. You can refer other resources also. I will always recommend to go for other source of information, other reference point all the time. But yes, base, to get a baseline, because your entire project work, your entire what we call it as a theoretical part, your entire practical aspect, everything, even project viva part, everything will be based on your understanding whatever has been taught to you. So this diagram is giving you a complete glimpse of the thing, that what all component could be the part of this repository, that is versioning information, or if any kind of tracking information is to be captured, I will go to this repository and ask for that particular file from the concern manager, and then they will give it if they find it as a suitable request. Change management, all the documentation which was prepared during the application of the changes into the software, that will be the part of that repository. Requirement tracing, if I just want to find out that what exactly was the requirement of this particular client for which I am going to develop this software, so there's a only single point of contact for me to get this data from this automatic repository over here, and on which part of the software the changes has been applied, how many audit trail is what. Audit is a kind of checking procedure with respect to the standard of, or the norms of the organization. So if I have let's say in this example, I am the auditor who is going to check what all the changes has been suggested to you at the part of audit. Have you applied all that changes into the software, and how many times I have applied the audit onto this. All that data will also be the part of this repository. So whatever functions or data integrity and tool and methodologies, every kind of information with respect to the application of the changes, they all will be the part of this single database repository which is in front of you. That is called as a database repository or change repository also. Function of a SCM repository. What all function this repository is serving to you. So yes, you can ensure the validity of the data also. You can validate entries in terms of what was supposed to do, and it also ensures the consistency in terms of what was expected, and the kind of the sequence of history of the modification, again that can also be captured out of this SCM repository, and what all information was shared among the different team players or stakeholders, either it was developer or managers or control or the different system analysts and all. So all multi user access control, all the different kind of entities, they have a control to access these data from here only. So tool integration, yes, SCM repository also serves as a platform to establish a data model that can be accessed by many software engineering tool and control access to the data also. Even the another amazing function of the SCM repository is the data integration, because it allows various SCM tasks to be performed on one or more configuration item. Even you will get to know the kind of methodology that was used into the application of that changes. It defines an entity relationship model for the repository that implies a specific process model for the software engineering. So before, in the very beginning of the process part, we create a ER diagram, then DFD, then from this DFD structure chart is derived and all. So tool set used on a repository. So whatever documentation we will capture out of this SCM repository, that defines the object into the repository to guarantee that a standard approach is to be used for the development of the software documents and all. Even how many softwares, how many version of a particular softwares are there, what are all are the specification of each and every version, that all information will be the part of this repository also. So you can save and retrieve all the repository object based on to the version number also. Even dependency tracking and change management, because we do understand this very well, that software is being developed by a different set of people, and it is being managed by different set of people. Sometimes people leave the organization, and sometimes even they move to another project also. So it happens all the time, this kind of scenario into the software industry. So depending upon that, we all that keeping in view of all this scenario, all the data which is relevant with respect to the software is kept into this repository only, so that the development the maintenance team who is going to manage your software that was developed by a different set of people, that can be tracked, that can be responded, and the relationship between the different object can be evaluated and all. Toolset which is used on a repository are dependency tracking and change management. In this, you need to track and respond to the changes in the state and relationship of all the objects in the repository. There's a requirement for the there's a scope of requirement in terms of forward tracing and backward tracing. In forward tracing, what we you can by means of words only, you will be able to get an idea that forward tracing means looking forward all the time, and backward tracing means we are looking back, keeping in view of the current scenario always in our hand. So in the forward tracing, track the design and construction component and deliverable that result from a specific requirement specification. So what was there, there into the SRS part, and how the things are going in terms of designing and construction. Backward tracing in which the identify which requirement was generated at any given point of time with respect to the work product. What could be the possibility? Because now right now I don't have that kind of documentation with me. I have only current software in my hand. So I can assume in that I can assume that okay, what all could be the possible scenario in the past. So this is how the this kind of data. So this repository or STM repository is a kind of container through which I can take out that relevant data, and that will give me an idea in terms of what can be done with the current project in hand. Configuration management. It means track a series of the configuration representing specific project milestone or production releases. Objective of software change management process. Why to go for all these things? Because being a human being, we are not motivated all the time to do all the things. We must have some kind of objective in our mind. We must have some kind of motivation also in our hand. So that will encourage us to go for the change management process. So the first one is configuration identification. This is the process of identifying, in which involves the identification of each and every component and giving them a version number also and a unique code also, so that we can differentiate one version with that of the another one. Configuration control. Not all the people, even if they are at the prime position of the in the team, not all the people should give the authority to apply all the changes all the time at the part of SCM repository and all. No, there should be a single point of contact. As in our example of that video, Harry was the only point of contact between the development and the production server, and he was acting as a bridge between all the parties. So yes, controlling changes to a product must be done under a single hand control. This is how this kind of scenario is giving you an idea how to control such kind of scenario, because we have to lead a people of different expertise with different mindset and all. So to lead such a big team is not a small task, rather it's a big challenge for the person, for the team to control and all. So to ensure that the software is consistent on the basis of the baseline product, the all the configuration control must be under a single person. Another thing is that is review. Review is a very good activity. It is the second thought kind of activity in which at every aspect, even if the CCB has approved the request and all, and now the baseline has been revised, still review will also always serve the purpose at every aspect of the software development. Whatever we are doing, review always plays a very important role, but review must be done by a third party. It will be good rather. So reviewing and the person, yes, and that person must have a thorough understanding of the thing which is in hand. So reviewing is a process to ensure the consistency among the different configuration items. Status accounting. It means recording and reporting all the changes and the status of the component. Okay, where the changes is going on, who all are going to involve, what will be the possible outcome of these changes. These all kind of information will be again jotted down in the form of the reports. That report is a kind of status accounting information. Auditing and reporting. If I am the auditor, again it is the part of my responsibility that whatever parameter I have captured out of the audit or the sequence of audits, that I must make a documentation and I must hand over to the concerned person, so that the required action can be taken up. So all that auditing and reporting mechanism will ensure the validation of the actually the validation of the software in hand. Apart from this, there are certain questions that you as a auditor, if you are playing the role of SCM manager and all, we can ask from ourselves: how does a software team identify the discrete element of a software configuration item or software configuration? How does the team identify all these things? How does an organization manage the many existing version of a program? I mean, if I'm having a two or three kind of revised version of the software, then how the organization manage this kind of change in a manner that will enable the change to accommodate efficiently? How does an organization control changes before and after the software is released to the customer? Right? So, who has the responsibility for approving and ranking the changes? How can we ensure that the changes have been made properly? Whatever was suggested in the initial phases. What mechanism is used to appraise or to improve the others of the changes that were made? So, knowing the answer of all these questions will really help you to perform well at the part of SCM manager. There are different type of tasks that will come under the this, that is, identify the SCM configuration item first. Once the identification is complete, then apply the suitable changes into it, assign a version number to it, and then finally apply the audit on that parameter, so that the final reporting can be drawn, or the things can be freezed, or the things can be settled down. Right. So identification separately of these configuration item is name each and every configuration item on which the changes is to be applied. Using an object oriented approach, or we can say using the class or object kind of approach. Objects start out as a basic object, because in implementation part, objects are the only entity which take part in the execution, and then they should be grouped together into the form of a aggregate object and all. SCM task in each object has a set of distinct features and identified, because everything must be done in an unambiguous way. Every object should communicate only one meaning. There should not be ambiguity, right? So a description must be attached with it along with each and every configuration item, and that description will really help to identify each and every configuration item also in this object-oriented modeling world. Change control task. Although I have talked a little bit on this earlier also, that yes, there is a CCB board, that is change control board. Once the change is expected at the part of the software, there is a procedural activity that need to be followed. Then the request is forwarded or it is submitted to the CCB board. Once they will evaluate it, if it is fine, they find it suitable, then the corresponding changes to be applied, and again the baseline is to be updated, and all the things whatever we have covered till now, that will be covered, right? So overall impact of the if any CCB board is evaluating or approving any sort of change to the software, then it means they have already verified and evaluated all the technical parameters, what all could be the possible side effect of this changes to the entire behavior of the software, what all could be the functions that will have a better impact now, and how it will impact the project cost and time constraint also. So here comes the role of change control or CCB board member, what kind of task they used to perform. So yes, there is an engineering change order. We always look for the echo, that is there echo has been issued. If the echo has been issued for each approved change, it means now the changes is to be, now the development team or the debugging team, they will start working on to that changes, and then obviously they need to follow the constraints which are associated with these changes, and then the criteria will be applied so that the review and audit can be applied. So baseline configuration item is obtained from the SCM repository. Now you all will be able to get an idea that every task, now we are referring each and every documentation with respect to the software change, and even for a further part of enhancement of the software also, from one single repository, that is SCM repository. Even access control governs which software engineer have the authority to access and modify a particular configuration object. So in this part I have already covered, that you must have only single point of contact for that thing. Just for the sake of backup, we can have two people hardly. So synchronization control helps to ensure that the parallel changes performed by two different people don't overwrite one another. So whatever is going on, it should be with the consent of the concerned person basically. So version control task. Now look at this diagram first. Now look at this. So this diagram is giving you an idea that this how the this version under this control version control mechanism, every version is having assigned a unique code to it, and how the second version is derived from the which previous version. This control version control task, this evolutionary graph is giving you a complete glimpse of the things, that how the things are moving on, right? So in this regard, what you need to do, it is a set of procedure and tools for managing the creation and use of multiple occurrences of the object in the SCM repository. So that is why we require a version control capability. In this, all the relevant configuration objects are kept there, and version management capability that store all the version of a configuration object, they are being enabled also. And version control enable the software engineer to collect all the relevant configuration objects and construct a specific version of the software also, right? So version control task, it issues the tracking capability. It means they enable the team to record and track the status of the outstanding issues associated with each configuration object. And SCM repository, just a minute, someone is trying to enter. दे देती हूँ, उसके बाद शायद वो हो जाएगा, है ना? ठीक है. So yes, sorry, I was talking about uh, so SCM repository is, it basically maintain a change. It serves as a collection of all the changes made to the baseline configuration. It creates a specific version of the software. It captures all the software to all the files. So this kind of discussion what we have today with respect to the SCM, you must be able to get an idea that how you have to manage the task within the software development team and all. How you have to assign a person as a SCM manager that will have a control of each and everything. You don't have to ask for so many people in the team about the changes or the changes into the data part. Is a, this kind of scenario is helping you to manage the software manage the software development house basically. So now there's a configuration auditing task also. It is what basically it is an SQ activity, that is software quality assurance. Why we all are doing all these exercises? There is only one element, that is quality. So configuration auditing task is again a QA activities or software quality assurance activity also, that will really help to ensure the quality in question, quality of the software in question basically. So that if not only the changes, even whatever is expected to be done for the betterment or for the optimization of the software, that all will be the part of SQ activity. It complements the formal technical review and is conducted by the SK group also. So in every company, you must have a group of 3 or 4 people that will act as at the part of SQA, and they will give their expert judgment to improvise the thing. Sometimes people, I have observed such a scenario also in which the people get affected. Or not affected, rather I must say, they don't pay attention or they don't give respect to the QA people. They think that they are just pinpointing their what we call it as a, they are just using their power and all. No, we should have a very healthy mindset over here, that QA people, it is their job to pinpoint the shortcoming or limitations or flaws or defect into our software. If we are the part of development team, we both are working together to improvise, to gain the or to achieve the quality of the software basically. So don't take it at your heart, take it in a very healthy way. So these are the certain challenges that the company or that the team players sometimes face. And so configuration auditing tasks, under this we need to address the following question, that is, has the change, if I am going to audit your software, so firstly I will I address this question, has the change specified in the eco been made, have any additional modification been incorporated, because I am doing the audit, right? So we should have a formal technical review being conducted to assess the technical correctness. Technical parameters should also be verified at this level. Has the software process been followed, and have the software engineering standard been properly measured? Because what we are doing, we are doing this exercise for the sake of maintaining the quality of the software. So I have to ensure all these things also with respect to the configuration management. So another aspect of that the configuration auditing task involves is, has the change been highlighted and documented in the same? it is quite often, this thing happens quite often into the software development house, that the development team has been applied that changes what was requested, but it is not documented anywhere. But in the later part of the software development life cycle, or let's say in the after for 4 years or 2 years, if some sort of changes will be observed, then how I will map these changes, because nothing was documented into the CSR, into the repository. So this kind of auditing must be ensured at the part of a auditor. So have the changes data and the change author been specified, that who has applied these changes, so that if some gap will be observed, if name will be mentioned there, then the things can be tracked, things can be connected together. So do the attribute of the configuration object reflect the change? Have SCM procedure for noting the change, recording it, and reporting has been followed or not? Have all the related configuration item been properly operated? So all these learning that we are discussing here, we have to actually apply at our workplace when we will get into the software development house. So configuration auditing task will also ensure that the correct configuration item by means of version number have been incorporated into the specific build also, so that all the documentation is up to date and consistent with the version that has been built upon. Reporting task is the most important task. So configuration status reporting is that summary report which give you a glimpse of all the things that was actually done at the part of configuration management. It provides information about each and every change to those person in an organization with a need to know, and answer what happened, who did it, when it was done. All the WH question has been answered by means of this status reporting information. So sources of the entries for the configuration and status reporting is that each time a configuration item is assigned a new or updated information. Each time a change is approved by the CCB and an echo is issued. So now, by discussing all these parameter, I think we are discussing it for at least 2-3 times this in this session itself. So you must be able to get an idea that why all these things are emphasized, because they are too important. We can't go ahead without these processes and all. Each time a configuration audit is conducted, so yes, it is important for the sake of improving the quality of the software. Status reporting, in this we will place an online database, or on a database on a website also for the software developer, so that they can refer it in the need of hour also. And you can take it, make it as a read only also, given to management and practitioner to keep them appraised of important changes to the project configuration items, and all the stakeholders can refer this part. So with this, we are done with the block 2 has been finished now. Now before going ahead, although let me take few questions if it is there, and attendance also, then we will start with the this block 3, unit 9, web engineering. Right, let's take the attendance first, and if some questions are there, we can take that also. So let's everyone just keep your video to be on so that I can take the attendance. Then we will begin the next part. I will just start the introduction part only. Not all the people are listening. Yes, one more scenario. Done. Yes. Any question from anybody's side? Attendance part is done. Now I'm going to start. If you have some question, I can take it. Otherwise, I will have to go ahead to the next part, that is block 3. Okay. So in this we will talk about those extended part of the software engineering in which, although web application and website, they are important part of the business world and all. So how many of the software engineering principle will help us to apply all those practices specifically onto the web applications and all. Although you know it very well that there are different kind of application. It could be console application, window application, web application, mobile application. All these type of application, it requires specific kind of understanding to be applied. But as all this has been derived from the software engineering, so most of the things or mindset that we have learned through software engineering, that will be applied onto the web also, on or for the development of website and web applications also. Although website and web application, these two are different aspect, and web engineering will get to know, will let us know that how the understanding of software engineering will help us to create a quality web applications, or we can call it as a quality website also. So yes, website is a kind of information sharing browser, or we can say a kind of book where, or online notebook that give us a kind of glimpse of what all are the offerings of a particular business. Either they are selling product or services, whatever is their offering, that can be evaluated by means of website. But web application has its own specific purpose. Web application is something which is more interactive, which gives two-way traffic or to interact with one another. So while developing the web application and while developing the website, we should have a different concept in our mind that again has been derived from software engineering and all. So yes, web engineering is a body of knowledge which is consisting of technologies, architecture, design methodologies, and development process that will actually enable us to develop the complex and maintainable web system. So I'm taking some example to make you more clear. LinkedIn is an example of a web application. Igno.ac.in, because we all can do lots of transaction over here. You all can submit your fees. We all can do lots of transaction. So it is not only a web application, not only a website, rather a web application also. So any any application or any website which is encouraging you to go for some sort of application of applications or interactions or some sort of transaction we can do on there, that is called as a web application. And the website is a kind of that is static, or it could be dynamic also, that allow not interactiveness is there, but only the information sharing kind of purpose is there. Every web application is a collection of different web pages and all. Every web application has its own mission statement and all. So yes, web engineering is based onto the software engineering. Web engineering comprises the use of systematic and quantifiable approaches in order to accomplish the specific implementation, operation, and maintenance of the high quality web application. So why we are all here, why we are all are discussing all these aspects, the agenda is very clear, that as we all want to make high quality web application, that is why we all are here. So here is a life cycle of the entire web application that you all can see. That entire life cycle is partitioned into three main phases, that is development, deployment, and operational. So under the deployment, there's an analysis and designing phase. When we ask for the user requirement, when we prepare the system design, we quickly after preparing the system design, we get into the preparing the working model for the client and all these processes, because actually we are developing the things an executable code for the client, so that the things get settled down and the things move ahead in this journey of development. So all this aspect will be covered under the development phase. Once the development is over, then again implementation will take part. In this, the integration of database and coding is going on, and testing is done onto the proposed software, which is ready now to deliver to the customer. So just to ensure that the our software will be it is being used, it should be user friendly, then sometime we have to give the trainings to the people or to the player who has to actually use this software. And again, the now the software is deploying from the development side to the actual site where it is to be used, so deployment challenges will be there. So again, maintenance is an ongoing process. So in this software engineering, we have learned lots of things from development to the maintenance. So you must be able to map or relate this cycle with that of the first one that we have done in the very beginning, that was SDLC. So yes, the development life cycle is more or less similar, but yes, some terminologies are differentiating one phase from that of the another one. There are certain characteristics of any web application, that is, there are many kind of parameters with respect to the web application. Every web application has some static text with them. There are some dynamic content is also that keep on changing with the passage of time. Interactive website that act on the user input. Once you give some sort of input, then it generates the next level, or we move to the next level. Portals is something where different streams of data from different platforms is coming to a single platform. Everyone is getting their own dashboard and all. So they are merely the gateway to different kind of website. Commercial site that allow the transactions and all. Yes, there are different like Bheem app, and lots of financial transactions is being done by means of these commercial sites also. Even that Amazon.com is again a commercial site, and these allow the people to search their products and all. Development, testing, and deployment that we have just talked about. Development of a website is not an event. It is a very conscious, process that we are using for the, development of a web application. So yes, it is a process. Once developed information, the website need to be maintained. It is an ongoing process. So testing is the process of evaluating a system or its component with the intent to find whether it satisfies the specific requirement or not. This is the only goal that we have today gone through in the testing phase. So testing is executing a system in order to identify any sort of gaps, any sort of error, or even if some requirements are missing also. So all these things will come out under the testing phase. And development, testing, and deployment phase that we have just seen. In this, the software development is all of the activity that make a software system available for use. Yes, your our development will not serve the purpose until and unless it is not available for you. So all these things will be covered under this process, which consists of several interrelated activities with the possible transition between them. And these activities can occur at the producer side or at the consumer side also. So maintaining a web application, in this, our web application has been deployed at the site where it was supposed to be. You can easily add an individual piece of the application. You might want to update your web application with the new pages, with the new things which are arising in the industry and all, so that we can sometime even it is required to add a new functionality also to the existing system also. And perhaps you made changes to the files that are already deployed also. You can copy. Thank you. You can copy over the currently deployed files with a newer version. So this is how the entire things are being done. Rest part we will cover in the next class. So that's all for now. Any question from anybody's side?
Ma'am, is there any chance of getting postponed for the assignments? Like we can't able to complete those things till now.
Yes, there is a possibility. There is a possibility.
Because like kindly like we were working for 5 days and we are listening for the class for 2 days. We can't like we are not getting any time for the particular thing assignments.
Yes,
We
yes,
are
we are.
trying our level best, but we can't able to complete some of them.
Hopefully, you will get an extension. Hopefully, because one benefit for you is that this MC Online is a first pilot project. The students are not familiar with new things and all, so that will give an advantage to you also. And taking care, keeping in view of the previous history of the changes at the part of dates and all. So it is quite possible that the deadline for the assignment submission dates will be exceeded. It will be exceeded. Hopefully. But till now we haven't get any notification in terms of mails and all. So hopefully the kind of discussion that was going on that we hope so that the deadline will get increased.
Because like
If ma'am,
we have like told
this
the
assignment
organization.
submission date is not extended and we have not submitted the assignment till time, then is there any provision that we can submit the assignment letter? Means
You can direct, because PCTI is your learning center. You can get directly, instead of submitting online. You should come physically here and to submit all these things. This is the only solution. Hopefully, I'm sure on this part rather that 90% I'm sure that the deadline will get increased. 90%. But only for first semester student. Please don't communicate this information to all the student if you are in contact with that person, because this special privilege will be given to those who are the first semester student, either it is BC or MC. Okay. So that's all. My class is further lineup also, so I have to get there also.
Ma'am, just one question.
हाँ बोलिए.
Yeah, so we got like our tentative time sheet.
हाँ,
So, do you have any information regarding how will our exam will be conducted, online or offline?
it will be online. It will be online. Mode of examination will be online, but it will be you have to be assign a examination center for this thing. Like, let's say I'm assuming one scenario. I'm assuming one scenario that you all are the student of PCTI. So in the admit card, let's say Shamlal College is one of your examination center. So you have to physically go to the Shamlal College. They will give you the computer, and then that exam will be online only.
Then we have to type like our
Yes,
answer.
yes.
No pen and paper.
No pen and paper. Till now, this information we have. Everything will be online.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Hmm.
sir, ma'am, if there is online exam, then there will be objective question and then subjective question, because
Hopefully.
it will be very difficult to write the exam in the online mode, because there are some diagrams, something and something. We can't make it on online, right?
Hopefully, sir, it will be a mixed kind of exam. मतलब mixed kind of things will be there. Some part will be objective, some part will be descriptive. And hopefully, maybe they will give us if some kind of stuff over there with respect to that pattern of new examination question paper and all. And then definitely we will share it with you in the group itself. No, not to worry.
Okay, but the examination is likely to be in August with the batch of MCA new group that has been issued just now.
That I can't, because your schedule is going till
Because-
the end of July, na? Your
Yes, ma'am,
schedule
but
is-
examination schedule has been decided and it was come online that all the examination is conducted in August, I think.
Yes, hopefully we are looking at it, but this is a tentative date. Should there quite possible to be change in this? So let's wait for another 1 or 2 week. Hopefully we will get some, better answer on this part.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Bye.
Thank you,
Bye
ma'am.
everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.